And then this love, I can't even talk about it 6 years later, that was, I have no words. But someone asked me later on, they said, where did you go? And I said, into the gaps. And they said, which gaps? And I said, all of them. You know, being alive is the most magical experience possible, but to be alive and to be in love at the same time is immeasurably beautiful. You know, I'm not going to lie, there was a period there afterwards where I was going, I want to go back to that.
911, what city, please?
I'm sorry, my dad is not responding.
Okay, what's the address?
It's 656 Fairbanks Street, apartment 6A. He's going to sleep, please.
All right.
Please, please. He's not breathing. He's not breathing.
Okay, I need you to take a deep breath. I'm going to give you some instructions, but I got to get the address.
Okay.
Count out loud so I can count with you, okay?
We're ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4.
My wife and I took my granddaughter to breakfast from the restaurant, went to our house. Our granddaughter had just asked to take us to her mom's house. So we just decided to take her home, pulled into my daughter's parking lot. I grabbed my granddaughter. We had just got her a nice, playhouse toy, one of those big Barbie houses or something. So I basically took that and in my left hand and picked her up in my right hand. I set the playset down on the ground to my left and just dropped my granddaughter straight down to the ground in front of me. Stood up and got a little fuzzy headed, and that's all she wrote. Apparently I fell over dead in the corner.
Wow.
I had come to find out it was a widowmaker cardiac arrest. So, it's just one of those things that nobody saw coming. From what my wife explains to me is she had gone to the restroom and came out, saw me about probably 60, 70 seconds later, about a minute and a half tops. Like I just slid down the corner of the entryway and with the door open and was just laying there, eyes wide open and just dead.
I got up that morning, I went to work and I run a bulldozer. So around noon, I stopped to eat lunch. And when I started back to work, I felt this pressure in my neck. And I thought that was weird. I'd never had that kind of feeling before. And it's just started going into my chest. And I checked my pulse. When I checked my pulse, man, my heartbeat was all over the place. It was all over the place. I didn't even know a heart could beat like that. And so instantly fear just grabbed me. I said, I am about to die. I am dying. And there's nobody out here but me working. So, yeah, man. And when I got scared like that, all of a sudden, everything changed around me. It was like a piece fell down around me, and it was so strong. I started looking around because you could feel it. I knew something was there. I just couldn't see it. But whatever it was, it took all the fear out of me. And I had this weird sense saying it's okay to die. I was okay.
I collapsed. I was taken to hospital in an ambulance and scanned. And I had a lovely Irish doctor say to me, you seem like a straight shooter, so I'm going to give this to you right between the eyes. You have a mass in your brain and lesions in your lungs, but try not to worry. It might not be cancer. And I had probably 24 hours, probably a bit longer, of abject horror and terror. I'd had a melanoma cut out of my shoulder 3 years before, and I'd been living in fear of that. And so that was a culmination of all of those nightmares at once. the night after I'd collapsed, I'd got to a point where I was completely exhausted. And in a way, it was a death without dying. So I remember lying there in the bed and thinking, I can't fight this. This is bigger than me. I can't do anything. And I surrendered. I surrendered completely and utterly. I remembered my brain saying something, or this voice saying something. You're royally bleeped. I guess we don't need Mark anymore. And I wanted to know who we was, firstly. And I think I know that now. But I also realized in that moment that if I could put Mark down, then I've always been able to put Mark down. And I believe that realization, that discovery was what allowed the actual experience to happen. That's my feeling. I feel a little bit like as though that first thing was an introduction to, let's just say, God, because I had this indescribably profound sense of peace in that moment and overwhelming love, and being, I want to say, cradled in the arms of something, but that's not right. You know, obviously with this sort of thing, it's so difficult finding words to articulate the experience because it's so far beyond any human experience. But I felt that everything had been prepared. That's probably the best way I could come up with it. I was prepared.
911, what city, please?
My dad is not responding.
Okay, what's the address?
It's 656 Fairbanks Street, apartment 6A. He's going to sleep, please.
All right.
Please. He's not breathing. He's not breathing.
Okay, I need you to take a deep breath. I'm going to give you some instructions, but I got to get the address.
Okay.
Count out loud so I can count with you, okay?
We're ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4.
My wife and I took my granddaughter to breakfast from the restaurant, went to our house. Our granddaughter had just asked to take us to her mom's house. So we just decided to take her home, pulled into my daughter's parking lot. I grabbed my granddaughter. We had just got her a nice, playhouse toy, one of those big Barbie houses or something. So I basically took that and in my left hand and picked her up in my right hand. I set the playset down on the ground to my left and just dropped my granddaughter straight down to the ground in front of me. Stood up and got a little fuzzy headed, and that's all she wrote. Apparently I fell over dead in the corner.
Wow.
I had come to find out it was a widowmaker cardiac arrest. So, it's just one of those things that nobody saw coming. From what my wife explains to me is she had gone to the restroom and came out, saw me about probably 60, 70 seconds later, about a minute and a half tops. Like I just slid down the corner of the entryway and with the door open and was just laying there, eyes wide open and just dead. How it was explained to me is I was pulled into the living room and then they started CPR compressions and called 911.
911, what city, please?
My dad is not responding.
Okay, what's the address?
It's 656 Fairbanks Street, apartment 6A. He's going to sleep, please.
During this process, I had an out-of-body experience. So basically, I remember being in the room watching paramedics working on my body, not realizing it was myself, just kind of like, look at this and all this stuff going on. I experienced a very peaceful moment. I didn't, the concept of time wasn't there. It could have been a minute, could have been 20 minutes. I don't even know. Right. So I remember as the paramedics worked on me, just, looking around the room, during that process, I made eye contact with my granddaughter on the couch.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I look back now and I'm like, I thought it was just, she was just looking in the direction,
Mhm.
but I intentionally remember her and I making eye contact. My wife was in the process of trying to, keep the environment calm and everything. And my granddaughter asked my wife, is Papa going to be okay? And, she said, well, we're doing the best we can. We're working on it.
Oh, my sweet husband, we love you so much, baby. Come on. You're good. We got you. We got you, my love.
Keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure we're going 2 inches deep, okay? We want the chest to come all the way up between compressions as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't see anything. I need you guys to tell me, okay? Has he started to breathe?
Yeah, he's starting to breathe. He's turning red.
Okay.
Make sure he's not falling.
Look at him very closely and tell me exactly what you see or hear him doing.
And then my granddaughter tells my wife, oh, it's okay. Papa's just sleeping. So it was kind of like, it was right at that timing, of all that happening and all that stuff going on. And during the process of this experience, I was gone complete time for a little bit over 80 minutes.
Okay.
So, that's kind of hard to grasp, 80 minutes, because I can sit back and it seems like the experiences that I had could have been just been minutes. It wasn't like it was
No
and
concept.
almost 80 minutes I'm just hanging out. It didn't, the concept of time just it wasn't there.
No time space, right? There's
Yeah.
a whole different reality. So
Yeah.
wow.
And during that time, and after that initial contact with my granddaughter and watching the first responders, I found myself kind of like in kind of like ascending. So it was a very slow ascension. It was I was in like this pink type cloud. It's kind of like a fog maybe, but during that process I could see in the clouds 3 silhouettes, and the silhouettes were of like human form but with wings, so I assumed that they were angels, just going in a circular pattern. There was 3 of them. And during that experience and recognizing that, I basically discovered that there was another being with me. It was a young woman. She just came out and just kind of like stood in front of me, but I stood, float, it just being in front of me, right?
Right.
So, and she had long red hair, and, I always make fun of my nose because, you can tell who my dad is and who my brother is based on my nose. And this woman had my nose. So back in 1973, I had a sister who was stillborn. So, and she was born with red hair and, the same type of characteristics. And this person had those. So I believe that it was her.
And the medic, she was on top of me. She was just pushing my chest. She didn't see me open my eyes. So I said, hey. And she looked at me, man, and she jumped off of me. I said, what you doing? And you can imagine her face. And she said, Brian, your heart stopped. I said, no. I said, I was dreaming. And she's like, she said, man, she said, Brian, you died. And what happened was, when I closed my eyes, I was in the stars. I was in the stars. And I was looking around, and there were things moving. When I was there, I could see them. But when I came back, I just can't remember. But I could tell you what they were doing. They were shooting across like the galaxy. They were shooting across and they were leaving these trails of stars or whatever behind them. And they were just going back and forth. And I was like, I said to myself, John, I said, okay, what I was looking at, I didn't know what it was. So you have these dreams like weird. You wake up like, wow, what was that? So when I was looking at them, I said to myself, I said, I remembered falling out of the chair. I remember falling out of that chair and I said, okay, I'm asleep. I said, so I'm dreaming. That's why the stuff I'm looking at, I'm not understanding. So I watched them do their thing for a while. And then it's like being there for me, it was like a turn of a channel. It's like my floor was the universe. If you follow me, where the walls come down but stop, but then there was no floor. So what I was looking at is like I was looking down into the universe. I know I was looking at somebody in a doorway that I can see right through. And he never moved. She, I don't. He never moved. It was in that doorway looking at me. And so now I'm looking at them like, okay. And I got curious because I was perfectly still. I was just there. And I looked up and I said to myself, I want to go and see what that is. And as soon as is came out of my thoughts, I took off like a bullet. I took off so fast. You could see you moving within a split second, man. It was just that fast. And I got to the door, to the wall where the image was in the doorway, but they don't let you see their face. And so when I took off, I ended up above the doorway. And now I done forgot completely about why I was going to the door. Now my mind is, oh my God, how did I move like that? Oh, I was flipping out, man. Let me tell you. I said, oh my God. And remember in the first part, when I was in the stars, I said to myself, I said, okay, I must be dreaming. So when I moved like that, oh, that was no doubt in my mind. I said, oh, how did I do that? I said, I know I'm dreaming now. I know I'm dreaming. We can't move like that on Earth. We cannot do. How did I do that? And then I remembered why I went there, and I looked down real fast, and he was below me, and he started floating. He came out of the doorway, and he floated along that concrete path. And I watched him leave, and he just floated, and he was gone.
And then I actually had the brain surgery a couple of days later, and that was on the Monday. So I collapsed on the Thursday night and had the brain surgery on the Monday. I remembered being aware of like a white fizz, almost like being completely surrounded by milk that was aerated. And I got this sort of sense of endlessness. And then this love, I can't even talk about it 6 years later. That was, I have no words. But someone asked me later on, they said, where did you go? And I said, into the gaps. And they said, which gaps? And I said, all of them. But it was gaps between the stars, gaps between atoms, gaps between everything. And that surgery was 6 hours, but I was gone for long enough to see stars being born, atoms being created, universes being shaped. And I was absorbed into everything. And one of the greatest frustrations about the whole experience is not being able to speak about it and give other people a sense of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like speaking about it, I can feel those sensations, and I can feel the timelessness and the endlessness of it all, but I can't speak about it. You know, interestingly enough, in that space where I said I saw universes, I was having a dialogue with something at the same time, and that makes it sounds like having a dialogue with something made it sound like it was separate, but it wasn't. Somehow I was a part of it. But there were these words kind of appeared, and it was almost like they were written in white light, but they were felt and heard and seen all at once in ways I can't begin to explain. But one of the things that it said was, "This is not your time." And I'm bringing this up for a reason, because, and then the next thing I remembered clearly thinking, why me? And there was one word, it said communicator. And I knew that meant in paintings and actions, and these words came to me. I call them the 2 commandments. I say there's 3 commandments, but it's handy to only have 3 commandments when you've had a brain injury. It's not much to remember. It's good. But there's only 2 commandments, really, and they are to play and give light. Time, space, love, care, compassion, kindness, to the best of your ability. That's it, because the world needs light. And I believe that people who have had NDEs and those spiritual experiences, the numbers of those people are increasing. They're getting bigger, and that this is our ultimate evolution, and that we will all discover the light, for want of a better term, or realize the light. Some of us, it might take to die to do it, and others of us may realize it while we're still alive in these human forms.
And during this process, basically, all this stuff going on, the silhouettes and the clouds were still there. Basically, she told me my job on Earth wasn't done. Didn't give me much of an explanation. She just said I had to protect people, and that, you know, it just wasn't finished for me.
And it's like the channel turned again. It was jet black dark. But another thing about that place when you're there is I didn't think about the dark. It was just dark. Oh well. And I was looking up. So apparently my soul was starting to take over. Because I don't know why I was looking up. I remember I was looking up in all that darkness. And then I saw a light. I saw a light like somebody way in the background had a flashlight and was looking for something. And man, when that light turned on me, I don't know if I had hands. I don't know how that works. Some say we just snore, but I went into reaction to block the light with my hands because I wasn't expecting it to be so bright. And instantly when it hit me and I threw my hands up, then I was inside of it. I was changing or growing stronger. I don't know, but I was changing because when I was inside the light, I remember I looked left, in front of me, right, and I looked down. And it was just all light, but it didn't hurt. It was like I was inside of a light bulb, but it was a calm, beautiful light. And that's all I could see. And so I, I wasn't asking questions, which I should have been, just like before. So I waited. And all of a sudden in front of me, the light started turning into a fog. It started turning into a fog. And as I was standing out, I'm looking and I could see a blue sky. I said, okay, that's the sky. And man, from right after that, right when I was looking, I was grabbed. I don't know what it was, but next thing you know, I went into this ecstasy, this love. Oh my God, it was so it was like just it was just like I couldn't do nothing. I was lost in this. I mean, it's just the best way I can describe it is, you know how you have the waterfalls and all the force that when it hit the bottom. Just imagine if somebody stuck you right in all that force, at the bottom where all that force is coming down. But imagine it's just love. It's a love you'll never feel here. You would never know it until you die. Um, and I was just lost. I was just lost. And I saw the word forgiveness. I saw the word love. And then I saw the word peace. When I saw the word peace, I came out of the light.
And then when I came out, you know, the truly interesting thing, and it's still this way now, but much less so, I could see light being exchanged between people, especially when someone was kind. There was these orbs of light being exchanged. And still to this day, I can see kindness from about 300 miles away. I can spot someone who's kind. I can, you know, and straight away you can tell. And, you know, I still am able to see when people are scared, or, you know, I can see I can see things that I couldn't see before. I've actually spent a lot of time since the surgery with people who are in the final stages of cancer or early stages of cancer or ill for whatever reason. And I've actually found that I've been reasonably useful in those areas. So I had these three experiences. The first one, I believe, was an introduction.
Mhm.
The second one was everything lay bare. And then the third one was, this is how you can communicate it with the world. And the best way that I can, I believe now, after having done a lot of meditation and a lot of reading, I believe that we are all that all the time. The only thing that stops us from realizing that is the belief in the personal identity. And that belief in the personal identity is the veil, and the belief that we are bodies in a 3D experience is the veil that prevents us from experiencing truth, for want of a better term.
Right.
And so it makes sense to me that the gateway through that has to be for people experiencing experience as a human. The gateway has to appear to be 3D as well. Does that make sense? It has to be something they can access.